Okay, so our final paper of the day is again by Baruch Eshun from University of Education, Winneba in Ghana. And his topic is a look at the Mora as the tone-bearing unit of Akan. So please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So there are certain things I've thought about. The introduction, some preliminary issues in the earlier presentation, so I wouldn't want to go back to it. So the introduction, almost the same thing. So let me jump to the problem. Okay, so why a look at the Mora as tone-bearing unit of Akan? The tone-bearing units, the TBU of Akan, is another issue worth considering. It has been argued that the tone-bearing unit of Akan is the syllable. This was raised by Dauphin in 1988, 2006, and supported by Akan chronologists. For instance, Abakah 2005 asserts that the discussion of tone-bearing unit, that's TBU in Akan, is moot because Akan does not have heavy syllable, and as a result, the syllable and the Mora in Akan overlap. So apparently, the Mora in the context of Akan is synonymous with the syllable in Akan. I see that there is the need to have a second look at the TBU in Akan for the following reasons. One, Yip 2002 argues that if the TBU of a language is the syllable, it implies that the syllable should be able to bear both simple and complex tones. However, if the syllable can only bear simple tone but not complex tone, then the TBU is the Mora. The Akan syllable can bear only simple tones, in line with 2002. And for that matter, I see that there's the need to look at the TBU again. It is not likely, as Abakah said, that the Mora will clash with the syllable. You see, I said that Abakah argued that the discussion of Mora in the language is moot because the Mora crashes with the syllable. And I see that it is not possible that the Mora will clash with the syllable. Why? Because the Mora is just a theory for analyzing a syllable. And we know if we take syllable, want to analyze a syllable, we can approach it from the onset rhyme perspective or from the moraic perspective. So if we say that the Mora crashes with the syllable, then what are we saying, that the theory for analyzing the syllable crashes with the syllable? So I see that there's a need to have a second look at this. So this study fills this gap by looking at the Akan tone from the moraic perspective. I've already talked about Akan tonal inventory. It's a level tone having low and high tones. And these examples were mentioned in the first presentation. So I think I can move on. Okay. Now the Akan tone from the moraic perspective. The Akan syllable can bear only simple tones, as I said earlier. There are no lexical contour tones in Akan. However, there are derived contour tones that emanate from high-low and low-high tone sequences known as rising and falling tones, respectively. And these are treated as two separate tones on two different syllables, even though the pronunciation suggests that such a contour should be realized on a single syllable. So let us look at some examples here. this Akan word, and then the gloss in English. This word is ba. Ba is a personal name, and it's also used to name towns. We have Aba, that is king. Da, sorry for the capitalization there. Correct it. Da, that is dream. Fa, took. This is the past tense of take. Then we have D, that is also past tense of eat, that is it. And then we have do, headgear. So you see that in all these examples, for instance, for the first one, we see that we have low, high. We have the second one, low, high, the word at the end of the word. We have low, high. Then for the IV, we have high, low. But these are not treated as contour to be on a single syllable. They are treated as different tones on different syllables. And every syllable carries a tone in the language. Now, if you look at the data, I've already commented on it. We see that the long vowel is treated as two separate syllables with each bearing a tone. And this happens when the vowel is of the same sound quality. But sometimes two vowels of different sound qualities may occur at word boundary. And in rapid speech, one of the vowels is dropped, but its tone remains. And this tone does not dock on the adjacent vowel. Instead, a new TBU is created to bear this orphaned tone by lengthening the TBU of the adjacent tone. So let us look at the example below. I, we have sio, that is water. Retor is made up of progressive marker and fall. Now this gives us sio to. There should be a downstep. Okay. Sorry. Okay. Insio to. We have Kofi, and Kofi is personal name, a male born on Friday, and then Rididi is eating. That is Kofi is eating. Now, the third one we have Adia, Risa. Adia is thin, and Risa is made up of progressive marker and then finish, giving us Adia Sa. Now, what do we see here? What we see is that, for instance, let me look at the first one. Okay, let me move to the next slide and it will explain. No, let me just explain here. If you look at I, we have the tones. We have low, high, high, and then low, high. That's at the underlying. We look at the underlying form. So the tones are low, high, high, low, high. Now, at the surface form, you see that the progressive marker re is deleted. The progressive marker re is deleted, but its tone remains. So what happens? In a language that has a syllable as the tone-bearing unit, understandably, this floating tone should dock on the adjacent tone-bearing unit. But in Akan, it doesn't happen that way. What happens is that instead, the final syllable in insio lengthens, and it lengthens to bear the floating tone, which means that in carrying the tone in Akan, the syllable is not the most important thing here, because if we lengthen the O in insio, it creates another moraic unit that bears this floating tone. But if the floating tone should have had docked on O in insio, we would have had a contour on O, but that is not what happens. We create another moraic unit to bear this floating tone. The same thing happens in coffee. Okay, so what I'm saying is that, so if you look at insio return the I, you see that in the surface form, the progressive marker re deletes, but its tone remains. But instead of the tone docking on the adjacent tone-bearing unit, that is the O, it does not. Instead, the O rather lengthens to be able to bear that floating tone from the deleted re. And this shows that in carrying the tone in Akan, the syllable is not the most important thing here. Because if the syllable is the most important thing, the syllable should be able to bear the floating tone so that we have a contour, a falling contour on the O of the first word, but it doesn't happen. Meaning that the Mora is the most important thing here, because if the syllable is not a heavy one, thereby having two moras, it cannot bear complex or additional tones. And that's what happens in II and III. So Kofi redidi, the progressive marker, re deletes, but its tone, its low tone remains. But the fi, the E in Kofi, in II, lengthens to carry the low tone, thereby giving us Kofi didi. So what am I saying here? What I'm saying here is that this example shows that the most important thing in bearing tone in Akan is actually not the syllable, because there are tones that the syllable cannot bear, but the Mora can bear. A simple syllable cannot bear complex tones. It needs additional Mora to bear the tone. So I see that we need to look at the syllable, the tone-bearing unit of Akan, from the moraic perspective. Now, so that is what I'm saying. Looking at the nature of Akan words and how they behave, it is more plausible to look at the tone-bearing unit of Akan from moraic perspective other than the syllable. And doing this will help solve another major problem in the language, that is syllable demarcation. You know, Akan scholars argue that Akan does not have CBC syllable. So all CBC syllables are treated as CBCB, simply because that CBC syllable should bear two tones. So where should the tones be? Because we can't have a contour on the vowel that is at the peak of the syllable. If the syllable should be a CBC syllable with onset, nucleus, and coda, Akan cannot have a contour on the vowel. Definitely one tone should be placed on the word final consonant, which is actually a sonorant. So if we are able to argue for the Mora as the tone-bearing units in the language, what that means is that if we have a CBC word, we can treat it as a monosyllabic dimoraic syllable. Monosyllabic but dimoraic, and for that matter can bear two tones, as Akan scholars have always been doing. So let us look at an example where Akan scholars have postulated underlying forms for CBC word forms in the language. Abakah 2004 and 2005 did that, and that's what we see here. The surface form itself, the way we pronounce it, is what you have in the surface form. So we have sin. This is infantile. Sin, that is sin. Sin, that is something that is not full. But Abakah postulates underlying form of sini, and actually P pronounces it sini. So we'll say that the underlying form is from P. Then dene, P will say dene, Fanti will say den. P will say punu, Fanti will say pun. Now, punu means to smoke a pot. Ivy, pono, that is to swell. Fanti will say hon. Asante P will say hono. Fono, fono, that is to blow, to be emaciated. Now, so in all this, you see that the Fanti will have the word final vowel deleting, but the Asante P maintains the vowel. So what we are saying is that the question we are asking is that in let's say in I, sini is pronounced sin in Fanti. Now, if the vowel that is supposed to be the nucleus of the second syllable deletes, does the word continue to remain two-syllable word? Because the nucleus is deleted. So if you look at sin or sini, it is made up of two syllables. The s is onset, and then the e is the nucleus. Then the second syllable, the nasal, the alveolar nasal is the onset, and then e is the nucleus. Now here is the case in some dialects, in Fanti, the e, that is the nucleus of the second syllable, is deleted, leaving the which is the onset. Does it continue to remain syllabic? So, following from Goldsmith's 1976 auto-segmental representation, this can be interpreted this way. So we have two syllables. Sini, the first syllable is si, and the second syllable is ni. What happens is that there is a deletion, a word final deletion of the vowel. When the vowel deletes, what happens? What happens is that the that is the onset of the second syllable remains. And you know, in the syllable, we have the periphery and then the peak. The peak is the nucleus. In the second syllable, the peak, which is the nucleus, is deleted, leaving what is the onset there. And onset is at the periphery of the syllable, just as coda is at the periphery of the syllable. So what we do is that we resyllabify the alveolar nasal to the coda position of the first syllable. And that's what we see here. So if the nucleus deletes, it leaves the onset. And this onset can't fill the nucleus position of the first syllable. So it is resyllabified to the nucleus coda position of the first syllable. So this word, which was sini, and now it is sin. It was sini disyllabic, but because of the deletion of the peak of the second syllable, it becomes sin, which should be looked at as monosyllabic, but bimoraic. So it can bear two tones. So that's my argument. So my argument has been that in the study, we have seen that Akan syllable can only bear simple tones, but not complex tones. And this is evident in situations where a syllable deletes and leaves its tone floating. This floating tone never docks on the adjacent syllable. Instead, a new tone-bearing unit is created by lengthening the tone-bearing unit of the adjacent tone to provide another moraic unit to bear the floating tone. And this suggests that the tone-bearing unit of Akan is the Mora, because the Mora does things that the syllable is not able to do in the language. Such a revelation also paves the way for the discussion of heavy syllable in Akan. The study further revealed that the Akan syllable can end in a coda, and that CVC word stems are monosyllabic but di or bimoraic. The study will continue and look at what happens in other languages so that a comparison can be done between said languages and Akan. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And there are not so many of us left at this point, but yeah, I'll ask the others. So that's Gillian and Peter if they have comments and questions. Peter. Oh, Giuseppe is back. Okay, Peter.
That, I have to do that. This is very important because way back in 1992, Bill Poser did a paper at the LSA meeting, which was never published, and he gave it again all over the US and Canada, claiming that there are almost no syllabographic writing systems, that the things that are called syllabaries are actually moraographies. And I wrote a paper for a memorial volume that has never been published, which I'm just going to offer to a journal, showing that his definitions of syllabary and morabary are wrong. And you have shown that a language needs both syllables and moras. And if you were devising a new writing system for Akan, you might come up with something that doesn't resemble the Roman alphabet or the Arabic script, but something that resembles a West African syllabary, but also handles moras. So I want to use your result in my paper.
Oh, okay. That's fine. That's fine. Actually, this is part of my PhD thesis. It's one of my objectives. So actually, I have not published. I'm still writing. So yeah, in fact, you can actually reference my argument. I'm also still writing on it in my PhD thesis.
Well, I'll look forward to it.
Come again?
I will look forward to it.
Oh, okay. Very, very soon it will be out. So possibly I may want to have your email so that we can communicate after this seminar.
Okay. Yeah, I have yours because it's in the program. So
Yeah.
I'll write to you.
Yeah, okay. Unless you want to put it in the chat, Peter.
That just disappears. I don't know how that works.
Okay. Okay, any other comments or
Does the
questions?
university put dissertations online automatically?
Please, are you referring to me?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah, the question was whether your dissertations are automatically put online somewhere. They are in many countries, but we don't know how it is for you.
Oh, yes. Well, actually, what we do is that, yeah, after the dissertation, we refine it and put it online. So once it is ready, it will definitely be online.
Good.
So I'm still working on it, and I'm looking forward to finish it. Possibly early next year.
Oh, do you know Dave Roberts, who works in Togo on tone languages? He would also be interested.
Oh, okay. No, I don't know him.
He has some articles in written language and literacy, and a number of book chapters on tone typology.
Oh, fine.
David Roberts.
Oh, okay. 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 So I will keep you updated on the progress of my thesis, and then once everything is done, I just let you know so that you can dip into it and then possibly pick some materials and then,
Excellent.
yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so
Yeah.
let me hear from you.
And of course, in the meantime, you can reference this particular presentation if you need to refer to it in your own work, Peter. Okay, anything from anybody else? Anything more from Peter? No? Okay. Well, with that, I'll thank you again, Baruch. And this actually closes the conference. So I won't give any big speeches because there's hardly anybody left at this point. But thank you very much, everybody, for attending and for those who organized, those who prepared papers. So thanks very much, and especially to the plenary speakers. Yeah, Gillian, I see you're still here. So thanks very much for that as a plenary. Thank you. Okay, so bye everybody. Have a good rest of your day.